One of my favorite feelings when it comes to playing video games is the start of an open world RPG video game. I mean, some examples of this is Skyrim, Ghost of Tsushima, as well as the latest Zelda video game Tears of the Kingdom. Man, there's something about it that just scratches that itch. I mean, I love the freedom to explore, the secrets you get to discover, as well as all the challenges you have to overcome as you venture off into the unknown, trying to create your own adventure. Now, the reason I say this is because in life, we follow a very similar trajectory. I mean, we have a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of obstacles to overcome, as well as a lot of secrets, experience, skills to actually gain as we venture off in the game of life, as we would like to call it, right? However, for some reason, many of us approach the game of life with a lot less enthusiasm as we do when it comes to video games itself. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? You wake up in the morning, you kind of dread going to work, you work that 9-to-5 job, come back kind of really beaten down and really tired. Maybe you watch some television, maybe you play some video games, and then you go to sleep, and then you repeat it like clockwork. And the only thing you look forward to is that weekend. You look forward to the next vacation, and once that is over, you go back to your mundane life and just repeat the cycle over and over again. Now, many people are stuck in this loop. They don't even really think about getting out of it, which is why in today's video, I want to discuss how we can bring more excitement, more enthusiasm for the game of life. So let's get right into it. The reason I feel that most people aren't excited for their life is because that they are too comfortable. Now, what do I really mean by this? Because I mean, comfort is good, right? Well, not exactly in access. Because you see, every significant accomplishment that you've made, every significant milestone that you've reached, you reached it by actually being put in uncomfortable situations. You had to challenge yourself, overcome obstacles, which allowed you to reach to the level at where you are at right now. Comfort in excess hinders progress, but discomfort in doses helps you make progress. To kind of give a personal story, I was way too comfortable at a certain point in my life. I mean, I did all the right things. I graduated college, got a great job, have an amazing relationship, but then I simply stayed stagnant. I was comfortable, right? I didn't really set any future goals for myself, so I did the same thing again and again and again, and in the blink of an eye, 2-3 years have passed, but I kind of stayed at the same level. And it wasn't until I actually started this personal brand, started to share my thoughts online, started to figure all these different things out, that life got so much more exciting for me. I mean, when it comes to actually presenting all this information, putting stuff online, I mean, I'm learning it piece by piece, right? I'm just trying to figure things out. But that is exciting for me because that means I've started my growth again. I started to try to level up again. And ultimately, that makes the game a lot more fun again. So here's really the question. How do you find the willpower to put yourself in uncomfortable situations knowing that that is how you actually are going to level up? Because ultimately, it's really difficult to leave a situation where you're really secure, you get everything that you need, or put yourself in situations where you're unsure of what the outcome is going to be. But we do know that we need to do this in order to level up in life. So how exactly is the path to making this happen? To really understand this, you need to understand the power of dopamine. Now, for those of you who are unaware, dopamine is the chemical that's released in your brain that helps you feel good. When you're feeling happy, when you're feeling excited, most likely the cause of that is a surge of dopamine in your brain. In today's era, dopamine is just abundant everywhere. In fact, there's almost a dopamine overload. I mean, just think about it, right? We have our smartphone, access to the television, consoles, and video games. All these activities are meant to keep us hooked on it by stimulating dopamine. Now, the problem with this, however, is because since dopamine is so easily accessible, people abuse this. Because this kind of dopamine is temporary, it's fleeting, it's cheap, right? There's no real actually reward system to it. I mean, it's as easy as just taking out our smartphone, making a few swipes, and instantly we can get a laugh or something like that. So this doesn't really help us level up or progress in the game of life. Now, when it comes to real dopamine, true dopamine, that kind of dopamine is earned. It's earned through problem solving, through overcoming obstacles, through actually accomplishing your goals and your dreams. That is how you receive that whole surge of dopamine. In fact, that is the most natural source of it that many of us should be pursuing, as opposed to simply being hooked on all the other stuff. Now, I'm not saying it's not good to actually watch televisions or play video games. I mean, I play a ton of video games, but you need to understand the difference between the two. One is simply for fun, while the other is going to act as a reward system to help you progress in in the game of life. The quality of dopamine correlates to the effort that you actually had to put to acquire the dopamine itself. So if you had to work really hard for something, when you eventually do get the reward, the dopamine hit will be so much better. The greatest dopamine rush that you can get is actually solving your real life problems when it comes to health, wealth, relationships, careers, whatever it is. There are plenty of obstacles, plenty of challenges we have to overcome, and there's going to be rewards at the end that's going to give us that dopamine hit that we want. Not only are these rewards tangible, but it can actually help us snowball to gain momentum as we play the game of life. For example, if you want to be really fit, right, you're going to go to the gym, you have to spend weeks, months, sometimes even years to get the body that you want. But through that process, you're going to feel a lot more confident, you're going to be a lot more attractive, and that is probably going to help you get a better relationship. And through that, once you have a better relationship, you're going to be a lot more stable, a lot more confident in your own family life, your own well-being. Then you can focus on your career, right, to actually grow in your career. And when you focus on your career, everything's going to be well there, then you of course are going to be more successful financially. So you can kind of see how the game goes. Everything kind of ties together, and it starts by you solving problem and then approaching the next problem, Just like how in video games where they kind of pull you in, they suck you in by actually, hey, just get to level 2, level 3, and then they give you a reward and they give you a bigger obstacle to overcome, and then you want to go tackle that obstacle again, and then it keeps you going again. So this is the gameplay loop, right? And in the gameplay loop of life, you need to find your own problems to solve to push you forward to get better as you play the game. If you're able to find dopamine in solving your problems, if you're able to find dopamine in actually overcoming obstacles, then you will never stop leveling up in life. Naturally, if you want to win at the game of life, you have to follow the rules. And in the game of life, there are 3 that I personally follow that hopefully can help guide your path forward in your own playthrough through the game of life. Now, the first rule is that this is a single player game. You alone are going to influence the direction of the video game itself. I mean, I'm going to use Zelda as an example. Because it's a single player game, if you do not actually try to overcome the challenges, do the missions, right, actually discover the world, then, well, Hyrule is not going to save itself. Nothing is going to change. So same with the game of life is that if you don't actually make an effort to improving, well, then nothing is actually going to change. Many people like to blame others for anything that happens in life, right? So for example, if you don't get a good raise in your job, you can just easily blame your boss. If something goes wrong at home, you can blame maybe your wife or your husband, like, oh, they didn't understand me. If you're too tired to go to the gym or to exercise, you can say that I work really hard, so maybe today is just not the day for it. Many people like to deflect responsibility onto others because it's difficult to accept that you yourself have to actually do something to change the outcome. But here's the thing though, you are the only constant for all the problems, all the obstacles in your life. So you have to problem solve, you have to figure out what you can do better so that the next time something like this happens, well, the outcome is going to be different. That's how you're actually going to change the course, how you're going to start moving forward. Many people are stuck in this loop where they're never accepting responsibilities. They're simply just saying like, it is what it is, I'm doing my best already, but the thing is you're not doing your best, and then they question why things don't get better. So don't fall in this loop. Understand that life is a single player game and you have to take the responsibility to actually change and get what you want in life. Rule number 2, the game takes time to master. There's a reason that get rich quick schemes and get slim fast schemes are so rampant in today's society, and that's because they prey on something that most humans lack, which is patience. You see, mastering the game takes time, and many people don't like to actually put in the time to master the game. They lack patience. I mean, I myself don't like waiting, right? I want everything to happen right away, but I have to understand that that is not how the game works. To get better at the game, you have to obviously put in time to master the game. Nobody plays a video game saying that I cannot wait for this game to be over, I cannot wait to actually get to the end. People play video games for the journey itself, for the experience, for all the challenges they have to overcome. And that is the same for the game of life. If you're constantly playing the game only focusing on the end goal, only focusing on the destination, then that's going to suck all the excitement, all the happiness out of your life, because all you're thinking is getting rich, getting to the end, getting that big home, getting that fancy car, but you're not exactly thinking of how you're going to enjoy the process towards getting there. Understand this, if you are constantly putting an actual effort into improving your life, in time you will see progress. In time you will find the fun of it, but it's not necessarily going to be easy. Some days are going to be a lot more difficult. Sometimes things just don't work out, But it is through the process that you start to appreciate being uncomfortable. You start to appreciate actually knowing that whatever thing that you're doing is going to take time, and that is fine because you are enjoying the journey itself. I want you to really understand that just because you don't see any progress doesn't mean that you're not making any progress. The big difference between video games and real life is that video games, you often immediately get a sense of progression, right? You get an experience bar, you get a new weapon, a new armor, so it feels good to actually put in work towards a video game. That is how they get you. In life, you can work out really hard, you can work at your job really hard, but you might not see any progress despite doing it for a long period of time. But eventually, when it does actually happen, when all your efforts comes to fruition, then it'll feel really, really good, right? And that's what I want you to understand, that take your time, enjoy the journey, and understand that this is part of the game. This is not simply you not making any progress or you being lazy. This is part of how the game goes. And lastly, rule number 3. Obstacles are what makes the game fun. Imagine a video game where you got every single power-up, you're the strongest being in the world, you know, the path to the end game is just a straight path, there's no obstacles, no quests. That sounds like the most boring video game in the world. And this can be applied to the game of life as well. There are going to be plenty of challenges in your way, but that is how it's meant to be played. That is what makes it exciting and makes it worth playing. Many people like to avoid discomfort, they like to avoid obstacles, and this keeps them stagnant, right? Because they're not trying to push themselves forward. A lot of people feel that they want things to be easy, they want things to be handed to them, but let me tell you, when that actually does happen, you're going to lose a lot of excitement, a lot of happiness when it comes to playing the game of life. And this is why a lot of celebrities, a lot of rich people actually find themselves still depressed despite getting everything that they physically could want. And that's because the game of life isn't exciting anymore, right? It's not fun to play and they cannot find that purpose. So I want you to understand that obstacles, all these challenges are meant to give us purpose, give us a sense of excitement when it comes to playing the game. So don't avoid the obstacles. Approach the obstacles as part of the game and try to problem solve, try to figure out, try to gain the skills, the experience to overcome them. Because when you do that, that is how you grow. That's how you prepare for the next obstacle, and as you compound all these different, experiences, different skills, you'll get better and better at the game, and the game will just get more and more fun. This is the momentum of the game, okay? And this is essentially what I want you to understand, is that obstacles are meant to make you better, so try to approach it with more enthusiasm as opposed to just avoiding it and being afraid of it every single time. So to recap, there are 3 rules to the game. The first is that this is a single player game. Second, the game takes time to master. And third, obstacles are what makes the video game fun itself. Ultimately, this is your adventure, this is your journey, and I'm just sharing my experience and what helped me to help you actually carve your own path in the game of life. Because understand this, you can either wake up bored, bitter, unhappy with your life and just repeat this cycle again and again. In fact, many people do, and they don't actually achieve their full potential in life. But the game of life has many secrets, many things to actually give you, and a lot more excitement and fun to be had in it. So it is your choice whether you want to play the game the way that it's meant to be played. I assure you that if you follow this path, if you actually put in effort to leveling up yourself to actually understand the rules of your game, you will start making progress and you will start having more fun in the game of life itself. And we only have one playthrough to this game, so you may as well play it the best way that you can. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. As always, my name's the Nerdy One, and I use video games to gamify growth. So if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification, and go ahead and check out this video over here on more gamified, more nerdy content, just stuff that I like to talk about, and hopefully I will see you guys soon in the very next one. Take care. Peace.